My name's Angelo, and welcome to Bad Takes. Josh and I are going to give you the bad takes in the world of combat sports. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good, man. I think our topic today is going to be what, 40 over 40 or something like that? 40 for 40, and how long should you fight?
How old is too old in the fight game, basically. We just saw two 40-year-olds win at UFC Vegas 102 and win like back and forth fights, not lucky one-punch wins, like earn that win. So how old is too old? You're quite old, so you're the resident expert here as far as just advanced age and things that come along with that.
How old are you?
Well, a lot of people think I'm 32. I'm 40.
No. A lot of people do not think that. A lot of people do.
Some
not.
people.
They don't.
There's a few people.
There's a few?
Your
wife does not count. She doesn't like. I know she's just saying it. It's like when your wife comes out, right? And you're just like, oh, how do I look? And you're like, you gotta make sure because that's where you want to sleep in the same bed tonight, right? Like she's being very nice to you when she says, oh, you look 32, right?
Tall, skinny, 32. That's tall, the general consensus. That's the general
I give you the tall part. Skinny, not so much. Which one's telling you that? The third chin, the second chin. Which one tells you that you're skinny? Which one?
Yeah, I mean it's mostly my daughters, other people that rely on me to eat and breathe and have a roof over their head, essentially.
You know what's great, right? Is the bigger you get, and when you have a dimple, which you have a dimple, it just becomes a crater and just even deeper because it's just like the chub around the crater. It's pretty. I like it's pretty.
I thought Jacob was mean. Holy crap!
All right, but look, how old is too old? I mean, I'm asking you, how old is too old?
Listen, if you ask me as a non-fighter. Obviously, I wrestled the majority of my life, but that's very different than getting punched in the face and your brain smacking off the sides of the inside of your skull, which happens in fist fights. If you asked me, I would have thought 40 was way too old. And obviously, weight classes matter, and there are different factors, male, female, the little guys. To me, and you're going to tell me if I'm wrong, and you probably will tell me I'm wrong. To me, it seems like the first thing that goes is your chin, then your speed, and then the last thing that goes is your power. So depending on your weight class, your downfall is a little different. But we just watched Jared Cannonier absorb some damage early, use cardio as a weapon to recover, and then come back and win that fight. And he is 40 years old, and he's been through it. So I don't know. Is that the order of where things start to decline? And does the weight class matter more than just pure age?
I think it's different for men and women. Like we saw Angela Hill, she's 40 years old. And I will continue to say this, that women at 32, 33, 34, 37, they're continuously getting better. They find ways to evolve in the game, in the combat sports. I think in sports in general. I mean, how many times have we seen an Olympian swimmer, an Olympian pole vaulter, Olympian sprinter at 40 years old or 38 years old go out there and win a medal? And they're beating people that are, females or whatever, other athletes that are in their 20s. There's a reason. I just feel like women have ability to go ahead and carry their athleticism a little bit longer. They don't really hit their athletic peak until the later 34, 35, 36, 37, somewhere in there in that mix. Whereas men, we hit it 26, I think through 32. After 32, it starts to kind of pretty much decline. Now, that doesn't mean that it declines drastically. What I believe is it depends on what your weight class is. 185, 205, now the 205, but 185, 205 in heavyweight, weakest weight classes in the sport. Those guys can fight. Those guys can fight until they're probably in their 40s. And it's been proven, Glover Teixeira, Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz, Chael Sonnen, like those guys can get away with it because look, if you have a little bit of wrestling, which most of them did, that they can grind on you, hang on you, control you, slow the pace of the fight down. And they've been doing it their whole life. So they know how to relax in situations like that. When you get into the other weight classes of 70, 55, 45, 35, I'm going to take away 25 only because it's not a deep pool of athletes. So, but I think that weight class, when you start hitting 36, 37, 38, it's hard to be successful because it's so fast.
Is that the first thing that goes? Speed. What do you think is the first thing that you start to see a decline in? Speed, cardio, chin, speed?
The reason why I say it's the speed is because that's what starts to dent your chin. You can't get in and out of situations as fast, which means you start to get hit more. And then your chin starts to go. They almost go together. Once the speed starts to go, you start to take more damage in training. When you start to take more damage in training, you start to get hit more in a fight. And then you become hesitant in a fight, which means you start taking harder shots. So now you start to flinch. Now you start to like throw and kind of cringe to see if you're going to hit on the way out, which means you're getting hit more frequently and you're getting hit with harder shots because you're standing in the pocket longer than you should have. I
So it
think it's
sounds like the chin's a byproduct of the speed.
I believe so. Because once your speed go, look, the old sayings of speed kills, sticks around is because it's true. Once your speed, like your speed is what wins you fights, I really believe. And once your speed goes, it's going to be very hard to beat those other fighters. 125, you're seeing it a little bit right now with Henry Cejudo. This weekend's going to be a tough task for him because Song Yadong is a very fast fighter, extremely fast fighter, and he's got power. And he can wrestle. And he can't wrestle at Henry Cejudo's level, but what he can do is get back up. He can make it difficult for Henry. And in the speed and the power range and the boxing, he's going to have a little bit of an advantage there. So I'm looking to see how much is Henry slow down at 37, 38 years old, I believe is what Henry is. How much will that make a difference? And I think the lower in the weight class at 125, you need to be fast. And then the chin goes because you're getting hit more. And then eventually you're going to have to make your way out. 35, 45, 55, same exact thing. You can stick around as you get a little bit heavier in weight to the 70s. You can stick around a little bit more because if you can wrestle it all, if you can grapple it all, you can minimize how much you get hit. But in the lower weight classes, the speed and the ability to close distance, it's so hard to get the takedowns. It's so hard to avoid getting hit. They're hitting you so fast, so quick. And that's eventually what ends up making you retire at an earlier age.
Well, and I guess we just saw the speed thing with Yusuf Zalal. He was dotting up Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is a very good striker, and Yusuf was just literally too fast. That was the issue. He was just literally too fast. He was in and out. Calvin had no answer for that speed. But if he
was so fast that Calvin would throw, and like I said, Calvin would wait inside the pocket with his arm still out there, waiting to get hit.
That lets you know expected something. It's too fast. Yeah.
That lets you know that, like, when you're having to fight someone that's that fast. I had this train with a guy named Thomas Diange, a Sancho fighter from Paris. Super fast and athletic, just lightning fast kicks. He would catch every kick I threw and dump me on my head. I hated sparring with him, but man, he was so good. It was so good for me to get the read. But I caught myself as I was sparring with him, like throw and just close my eyes and hope I didn't get hit. Just throw, close my eyes, hope I didn't get hit. And if I landed, I'd throw the next one right away. But then he was normally gone and out of the way, but at least I got one in. But those are the guys that are the hardest guys to fight. Guys at 185 can get away with fighting longer, which we've seen with Randy Couture and all the other names I mentioned earlier. We've seen all that. The reason being is because speed is not as much of a factor as it is power, as it is being able to close the distance, get into the clinch, do work in those positions, slow the pace of the fight down. I've said it for years. 185, 205, and heavyweight are the weakest weight classes in the sport. And the reason fighters can stick around for a lot longer is because they are the weaker divisions. The speed and the power, the rest, all those things, you can make it work. Once the speed goes, though, in the lower weight classes, your career is pretty much done.
So how do you think Jared Cannonier is making this work? Is he just weaponizing cardio? Is that really, he's just literally working his way into his advanced age? Like, all right, it's a higher weight class, so that'll afford him some luck there. But he didn't really rely on speed. He was essentially just outworked Gregory Rodriguez. Is that it? Like, this is how you adjust. You're slowing down, all these other things are going, but the only thing you can control is how hard you work. And if you just continue to work that hard, you can maintain success for a little longer.
Well, right now he right in that fight, he was working on his chin. He was weathering the storm with his chin until he got into the second round. And Gregory Rodriguez came out and already said, I had a horrible weight cut. That I froze up. My body froze up after the weight cut, which is common sometimes for guys that have cut too much weight and don't rehydrate themselves properly. It happens a lot. And in this situation, I think Cannonier, he is someone who I think knows his body. He used to fight a heavyweight. Then he fought at 205.
Yeah, he worked his way down to 85, yeah.
He knows what his body can do. It's very rare that fighters learn their body that well. Certain guys just, I'm going to just destroy myself in the weight cut, get there, and then put my weight back on. That's stupidity. It really is. But it comes down to the guys that have learned their body well enough to get their weight down. He did it slowly and gradually, and now he's at 185. He knows how good he is. He knows how to fight guys. In this fight, weather the storm in the first round, then wrestle a little bit. He made him wrestle a little bit in the first. Second round, didn't make him wrestle as much, but also, too, started having success on the feet because Rodriguez was exhausted. Like you walk into the fridge. So that's exactly
Yeah,
what
but then I get that sugar rush. I hustle back.
then you got to the cookies.
Yeah,
Your
and
cookies
I
are
hustle
in there?
right back.
Yeah, a cup of OJ.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it really came down. That's what it really came down to was his ability to weather the storm in the first and lay it on the line in second and third.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely he definitely defied the odds, quite literally. He was a 2-1 underdog there. Angela Hill, that fight was about even. She was the favorite, then she went to an underdog. But as you mentioned, women have longer careers. Henry Cejudo, we'll see. Obviously, he has other sort of issues with long layoff and things of that nature. But Alex Pereira is like the last old superstar the UFC has. He's genuinely their biggest star right now. There's nobody bigger right now. Maybe John Jones. They're both old. They're both making it work. John Jones is relying on the wrestling, also fighting the elderly in Stipe Miocic. But I don't know how much longer Alex Pereira, because you mentioned earlier, if you can rely on the wrestling and those weight classes are not quite as fast. But Alex Pereira's literally not relying on the wrestling. So I do you think he's going to have a steep decline? Once that's gone, it's gone because his chin is everything.
Yeah, he's also been knocked out too.
Yeah.
I think that he will have a steep decline. I think that they're paying him so well right now because just like you said, he is, I think, the biggest name in the sport right now. I think more so than John Jones. I can't even think of another name that would be just as big as him. You know, I know there's Topuria, there's Islam, but
They
none
don't
of them,
move
I
the
think,
needle
carry
like
this
that,
guy
yeah.
could walk around. He was just dabbing up Drake the other day.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
he
I
is
mean,
next level superstar.
he should be back in the gym. I saw DC had put out something saying he should be in the gym training. He's got to be lasered in, focused in, and this and that. Look, the guy does what he does. He travels all around the world. He trains wherever he goes. It's like he's comfortable working with people. He doesn't care. He knows what he's good at. One thing I'm not going to do is underestimate Alex Pereira. The guy comes in, wins a title in like 6 fights or whatever in the UFC. I'm not going to underestimate him. And I think Ankalaev, if he's underestimating the fact that he thinks that he's going to be able to just take him down at will and hold him down, I think he's got another thing coming. He may be able to get him down once, maybe twice. It's a 5-round fight. But we saw in the Jan Blachowicz fight, couple inside leg kicks, and your shin's a little banged up. And Alex Pereira, he has got looks like the bone density of a fucking dinosaur.
His hands are huge. Everything's big as hell.
Bigfoot, man. Like it's got those flat, looks like it's flat feet, just like clubbing feet when they land.
Yeah.
And the bone density in the shins. Like he doesn't touch people's legs very hard, but it's hard. And I think that's gonna be a deciding factor in that fight.
Well, and if power's the last thing that goes, then that does favor him and as he's aging, because his power's everything he has. If power's the first thing that went, and now he's relying on touch go type movements, which he's not really.
Well, the difference with him though is that he's never been a fast fighter. He's got some speed. He's really sneaky with his left hook, as we all see. He sets up his left hook really well with his feint right hand, and then he also sets up, off of kicks. All of that stuff being said, he always finds himself slightly outside of range, and he rolls his shoulder very well to counter with the right hand and the left hook, or he rolls it to counter with the left hook as he's fading away. He does a great job of that. I don't know if Ankalaev, doesn't matter what he does for kickboxing, he's not going to be as good as him on the feet. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't catch Alex. Izzy caught him, and Izzy to me is a world-class kickboxer, but Ankalaev can catch him. But I think also, too, it's going to be one day. He gets clipped, and the next fight, it could be the same thing. Very much how we saw Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell had an iron chin. Iron chin. Go back and watch his fight with Pele Jones. Jeez, man. Just brutal damage to the dome. But, man, just walk through it. Then as he got to Rich Franklin, got to Rashad Evans, got to Keith Jardine, it seemed like if you just blew on him the wrong way, Chuck went down.
Once it goes, it goes.
And I've known Chuck since 97, 98, somewhere around there. And Chuck, great guy, man. Been friends of ours, been friend of mine forever. Great guy, man. Absolutely love the guy.
Well, you can't control your chin, right? That's God-given.
You can't
control your chin. And I agree with you. I think that's probably the Pereira route. He's doing all the right things. The guy's a stud, winning fights, world champion, and as fast as he did it, defending the belt, 2 divisions, all those things. But I agree with age, the chin, I think when he goes. Jared Cannonier managed to not go down that route because he had some trouble at 39, maybe, because actually Jared Cannonier is about to be 41. So he was 40 when he when he lost to Imavov, who stopped him, questionable, right? Who was on the feet. He was 40 when he almost got stopped by Caio Borralho. So the trend seemed to be like his chin's gone, he's done. But all of a sudden, he weathered that storm in his last fight, kept going. So to your point, he knows his body, and 40 isn't 40 for everybody, and weight class matters.
Yeah, but look at this though too. There's certain guys like Glover Teixeira at 38, he was getting knocked out by Gustafsson and
Yeah,
Anthony
he had like a
Rumble Johnson.
resurgence.
Yeah, and then he had a resurgence. What they do, and no different than Arlovsky. Remember, Arlovsky was getting knocked out by everybody.
Yeah,
Same
Fedor,
thing.
yeah.
What they do is they shape their game around grappling, wrestling, keeping the distance close, and then getting the fight to the ground if they can. One thing that Glover Teixeira had was he always had a nasty 6 side choke. He got to the top position. He was able to get you down. He'd work his way to a side choke. Just a stud, man.
Yeah.
Just a stud. Gustafsson was able to knock him out. So was Rumble Johnson. And then you look at guys like Chuck Liddell at 38. He was just getting knocked out after knockout after knockout. It was time for him to retire. They go through that phase at 38, 39, 40 kind of, I think is when they start. And now maybe you can get a resurgence. Arlovsky was able to get a resurgence off of it. Glover Teixeira, a resurgence off of it. It depends on who's in your bracket, who fades away, who comes, which guys came and which guys went. The ones with power have a tendency to not stick around very long because they also get into firefights. And when they do that, their chin goes fast too. So at 36, 37, you can see those guys go away. That was one thing that Rumble always had. Rumble had a pretty good chin, man. Pretty good chin. He could deliver the shot that could put you out. So, look, in terms of my take on this, I think it changes, but I think the upper weight class is 85, 205, and heavyweight. They can fight longer because the fighters are not as good and they're not as fast, which means they're not getting hit as much. But when they are getting hit, they're getting hit hard. But they can also clinch, grapple, close the distance, avoid the big shot by closing that distance and fighting you in a phone booth or pressing you to the fence. Smaller weight classes, it's a lot harder to get in to the legs, get into the body because the guys move so much. Lateral movement, bouncing on the feet, be able to stuff takedowns, be able to get back up and scramble from the back, to back up to their feet. Yeah. There's a lot to be said in that. And I think the smaller you go, the more difficult it is to fight longer. 40 is a very difficult thing to fight at. If you're fighting at 125, 135, 145, 155, it's hard. It's difficult. So
look at your buddy Frankie Edgar. Same thing.
Yeah.
Iron chin, incredible movement. Then obviously you slow down. Age comes for everybody, and you don't have that chin, you don't have that movement, and things are starting to look very different.
It's very unfortunate, but you know what? Father Time's undefeated, man. He gets us all. He got Angelo.
I mean, I'm a beacon of health over here.
Yes. Yeah.
I had strep throat last week. I went to the doctor's office, blood pressure immaculate.
Yeah, you're not.
I took a picture. I texted
that are out there.
Yeah.
Getting them the diseases from everywhere, huh?
Yeah, it's children.
Next thing you know, you'll have measles.
All
right.
Anything food related, I will get.
That's another one of our bad takes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe, and leave a comment down below on some topics you would like us to rant on.